On staying productive. This is a fun class for me because I personally have experienced me going through this transformation of becoming more productive, and I'm sharing with you my best tips here. But really, this class can turn turn one workday into 3 workdays for you in terms of efficiency. It can make you 3 times more efficient. So if you're really into getting a lot more done and without the extra stress, in fact, it'll reduce your stress. This is going to be a great class for you. The first thing you should know is that your calendar will help you stay ultimately productive. Now, a lot of people don't use their calendar correctly. If you want to learn how to use your calendar in terms of production and not just like organizing your information, you should look at time blocking. Go to YouTube, type in the word how to time block on how to do calendar time blocking. But you should live and die by your calendar, but not so much to the point where like you have to write down getting a snack or going to the bathroom or something like that. This should be something like checking your email for 15 minutes, at 11:15, checking your email for 15 minutes at 3 o'clock, like actual productive time blocks, which will separate your productive tasks from your non-productive tasks and prioritize them accordingly. All right, so live and die by your calendar. And then understand your flow state. Now, there's an entire world to know out there about your mind and how it reacts and how it's productive during certain times of the day. And part of that knowledge is understanding your flow state. For me, I know my flow state. I'm an early riser, and being in the Army wasn't an issue for me. A lot of my recruits didn't like to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning and work out. I mean, granted, I'd prefer to be inside and in bed, but really it didn't bother me. It didn't stress me out. Now, you might find that you're the same way. You might know that. Usually flow states occur in 3 chunks. You're either a morning flow state person, an afternoon flow state person, or an evening flow state person. Now, if you don't know which one you are, you should write down, have a notepad by you and write down right next to your computer any time that you find that you've been doing really good, solid, focused work for at least 15 minutes. Write that time down. And after a week, you're going to see that there's a pattern that emerges. You might see that 80% of your time is done in the early afternoon. You'll know your flow state is in the early afternoon. So what good is that to know that that's your flow state time? Well, what you want to do is sync your calendar with your flow state. So you want to put your most focused time that's needed during your flow state time. So for example, if you're doing a policy evaluation and you really need to focus on that type of work without any distractions, and your flow state is in the afternoon, you save your policy evaluations for the afternoon. Okay. And then you want to cut out all distractions. And I do a lot of entrepreneur coaching. And one of the things I always tell my clients is like, hey, don't check your phone. Like, check your phone during certain times of the day, like schedule that, right? Like if it's an email, you need to check your email, then go ahead and have your phone then. And then people come back to me and say, yeah, it didn't really work. I still find myself checking my email. Well, where's your phone? Well, it's right near my computer. Well, of course, you see your phone go off, you're going to check it. There's no such thing as multitasking. Well, there is, but I'll give you an exclusion here. What people call multitasking today is actually task switching. Your brain is not designed to multitask. The only way that you can multitask is when one of the tasks is mindless. Think about like driving. Like you can drive pretty much without focusing on driving because you can do it, subconsciously almost. Okay, so that's when you can multitask. So in that case, you're driving while listening to the radio and absorbing information from news radio, for example. That's multitasking. Checking your email and reading it, or looking at your phone and reading whatever's on your phone and trying to do a policy evaluation at the same time is task switching, and that is going to reduce your effectiveness and your productivity at work. So cut out all that phone, to even take it out of the room that you're working in. Social media, all that stuff is going to absolutely kill your productivity. And it's interesting that Facebook knows, and all these studies have been done to prove this, that most of the traffic on Facebook expires after 5 p.m. I mean, goes down after 5 p.m. because most people on their employer's dime will check Facebook and do their own personal stuff, right? So for some guidance on keeping concentration, what I do is I would recommend downloading Self-Control or Rescue Time. They're actually Google Chrome apps. I think they're available in other browsers, but Google Chrome apps like Self-Control and Rescue Time will tell you when you're not being productive and help you increase your focus. I highly recommend that. And don't forget breaks. There's a lot of people that just work all day long and just type in their computer, and then their neck hurts and they have a headache. And it's very frustrating to work like that. And the human brain isn't actually designed for that. The reason why we as humans work from 8 to 5 is because of the Industrial Revolution. That's just the way the factory lines were set up, with 3 shifts a day, 3 8-hour shifts. Well, 9 to 5, really, that's 8 hours. But you know what I mean. The way you stay ultimately productive is to do what's called the Pomodoro technique. And this has been proven in science. You might think that, hey, I can't take this many breaks, but I'm telling you, it's been proven that if you do this, you will be more productive, because your mind is more focused longer. Not only that, you're training your mind to stay in more focused states longer, as opposed to now when our attention span is actually technically less than a goldfish. 7 seconds or less is the human's attention span. And I saw an interesting chart the other day on how the attention span in the 60s and 1960s was like 28 seconds. And in the 70s, it was like 21 seconds. And it just goes down and down today, where it's practically nothing, because we're always checking our phones all the time. Where's my phone? Where's my phone? Have you ever tried leaving the house without your phone for an hour? It feels like you don't have clothes on. It's terrible. So the Pomodoro technique, and there's actually a Google Chrome extension for this as well. It tells you to take breaks every hour. And then what you want to do is work in 25-minute increments. So here's the cycle. You work as focused and as possible without distraction for 25 full minutes. It's going to be hard. You're going to be surprised at how difficult it is at first. Then you take a 5-minute break. Okay, so you do that 4 times, and then you take a half an hour break. And if you have a Pomodoro timer, you don't, on your desktop, you don't even have to worry about it. It's just going to walk you through it. It'll tell you when you should be focusing and when you should be on a break. And a break just means, it doesn't mean like, okay, I've been on my computer for 25 minutes, let me check Facebook. It's a mental break. So if you've been on your computer for 25 minutes, go take a walk, go play with your kid, go do something other than sitting in front of your computer. Okay. And productivity, also a lot of that has to do with meditation. I used to think that meditation is actually a time waster. It takes time away from work. But what I've been finding now is that because I meditate, I can now focus longer and more intensely. So it actually creates time and creates productivity. So if you don't meditate for 10 minutes a day, get yourself an app like Headspace. That's what I use. It's free. I mean, I have the paid version, but there's a free version. And there's lots of competitors, like Calm is really good too. But start meditating for 10 minutes a day. You might think that it takes time away from your day, but I'm telling you, it's like going to the gym. You probably won't notice anything the first few minutes other than just a nice break, but you're going to see that it's going to have some real serious benefits after a few weeks. Okay. And then this might seem kind of cheesy, but set goals. Okay. So in the morning, what you want to do is, especially as soon as you wake up, like one of the first things I do is I say to myself, mentally, like, what's my one goal for the day? I do one, but I know people who do 3. Don't do more than 3. But it's not something that's like ridiculously easy, like be sure to eat lunch. Like, that's not a goal. And don't make it too hard where you're not achieving your goals, but something that you really think that you should do today that would make you at the end of the day think, wow, today was a successful day because I accomplished this. It doesn't all have to be work related, but considering that this class is on productivity at work, think to yourself in the morning. So just mentally acknowledging that is your goal, you're going to subconsciously make time for it and make room for it. Okay. So reward and punish yourself. Give yourself rewards for achieving your goals, and punishing yourself for not achieving them. I don't mean like physically punch yourself, but I have as an entrepreneur coach, I have a client who swears a lot. He's a sales rep. Okay. And his goal is to not swear so much. So he does give a lot to charity, but one of his punishments, if you can call it a punishment, is to put $1 in a bucket, little bucket he carries around with him every time he finds himself swearing, either on his own or with a prospect he has on the phone. So now that's extra charity money he gives away, right? So that's just something he subconsciously does to himself to make his actually achieving his goals more rewarding. Because on the flip side of that, there's weaknesses that you want to get rid of, and you should punish yourself for that. Now, it might be something like, maybe you like to go out to lunch every day. Maybe your punishment to yourself is to not go out to lunch. You can still eat lunch, just make it yourself, right? Just take away one of those small pleasures that you see every day, and make that your punishment, as like withholding that for if you don't achieve your goal. Some people like that stuff, so punish yourself if you're that type of person. And then separate personal and professional productivity. So probably the biggest single time waster on this list is not understanding the difference between personal productivity and professional productivity. Personal productivity is, hey, I have some groceries I need to get on my list here. Let me go to the store during my lunch break. And then guess what? You go on your lunch break, and then you go to the grocery store, and now your break was an hour and a half long as opposed to 30 minutes or an hour. Okay, so you want to understand when you're working through your day, if you find that this is not professional productivity, save it for later. Okay, because you're on the clock now. Time is money. We're all entrepreneurs here. I mean, public adjusters are entrepreneurs. They make their own paycheck by and large. So every minute counts. So I hope these tips helped. They certainly have helped me. If you can't adopt all these tips at once, try just doing one at a time and just folding them in over the course of a month or two. You will be amazed at how much you can get work done by just kind of folding these tips in. Okay, good luck.